Recording in progress.
If everybody would please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Amy. Can you read the open public meeting statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. On December 28, 2023, notice was emailed and faxed to the Daily Record, the North Star Ledger, the Roxbury Register, and published in the Daily Record. Notice shall also remain posted throughout the year on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Carey.
Here.
Councilman Crowley.
Here.
Councilman DiFilippo.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
I'm here.
Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Here.
Councilman Riley.
Here.
And Mayor Albright.
I am here. Thank you, Amy. That brings us to number 4, presentations of awards, etc. We do not have any. Number 5, we do not have any minutes to approve. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at our first public portion. If you would like to get up and speak about anything, please do so now and state your name and address for the record. Tracy.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My father-in-law actually owns a rental property at 103 Route 206 Flanders, which is considered Roxbury Township. You guys fall under that jurisdiction. House is actually right next door to Myers Stone, to make it a little bit easier for you to know where that is. And we had some concerns, in reference to the lead paint inspection that was done. Yeah, that's a mess. The whole way that it's set up is a mess. Having you guys as an in-between between environmental. So I just had some things that, who's the clerk?
Amy.
Okay, so Amy, I just have some stuff I wanna give you guys. This is from the report that New Environmental sent us, and these photos are the photos that they assumed that we would be able to determine what was wrong with the property from their point of view. There's supposed to be on the photo we received. This is the drawing that the New Environmental inspector did at home. That's not our house, that's our house. This is the documentation that we finally got from Blue Environmental. If you make the appointment for your,
I think one of us is trying, wait, I'm sorry, I'm really trying to help you. Could you give me more context as far as what the issue here is?
yeah, I have some other notes here. So, I don't think, okay, so,
Like your name and your address and all of that.
my name is Tracy Murray.
Yep.
My name is Tracy Murray, okay? And I am the daughter-in-law to the owner of the property back there, Gary
So,
Roxton.
to get context, I think where it's going with this. Did you get an inspection and?
We had the inspection done,
And you got a report?
and we got a report.
And you disagree with the report?
Well, we can't disagree with the report, right? I mean, it is what it is, it's a visual inspection. I mean, clearly she's not Superman, and Superman can't see through lead. But, you know, in Roxbury Township, the only thing that's required is visual inspection. So you can't disagree with a visual inspection. Yeah, there's a door that rubs against the, you know, this house is an historical building. This used to be the old Wardrobe train station. So according to the Canal Society, this is a historical building. It was moved in the late 1930s to its current location where it
Tracy, we should actually go and talk by the microphone here.
Okay. So the biggest problem is that we called town law on several occasions and spoke with Mark Caputo. The last time that we spoke with him, my husband was told that we didn't need to call him every day about this. Well, when you're the property owner and your property has failed, you're gonna reach out to your elected officials and to people like Mark Caputo, who is the health officer for the township, for answers. Another person in the health department told my husband hey, we don't know anything, this was just dropped on our laps. Well, guess what, it was dropped on your property taxpayers' laps too. It was dropped on our laps too. With no preparation, we didn't know anything. Incidentally, the law was passed in July of 2022, and then you had to be in compliance in July of 2024. We didn't get notice of this until May of 2024. Now, the 3-page document that is being passed around, if you went on Lou Environmental's website, and you guys weren't like the middle guy, if you went on their website, and it took us until yesterday, by the way, to get this piece of paper, they automatically email you that 3-page document preparing you for the inspection. This is what we're looking for. This is what you need to take care of if you have these problems. Now, the house is old, right? It was the old Waterloo train station. Come on, it was moved in the 30s. It's like a 100-year-old building. It's an old building. Is there gonna be lead? Yeah, I'm sure there is. But it's been painted about 50 times since the moving of the home. So when the person from Lou Environmental came in, our tenant, she was pointing things out to the tenant, and the tenant said, so if I just freshly painted this house 2 weeks ago, these things wouldn't be an issue, right? So we told Mr. Caputo that she had said that, and he said, well, then there's your answer. You need to do a fresh coat of paint. Well, guess what? That's not the answer. The answer, after 2.5 months of research, is the area cannot be sanded, because if it's sanded, what happens? We're putting the lead out into the air, right? And then that makes an even bigger mess to clean up. That's not what has to happen. What has to happen is if something has to be sanded or scraped, it must be done wet. So then the state's no help either. The DCA gives you one-word definitions for what interim controls are and what lead abatement is. Literally the sentence for the definition of lead abatement is one sentence. And that's not helpful. That's not helpful. As property owners, we should be able to attempt to address it ourselves, but we should be able to have some guidance from somebody, somewhere. And nobody in this township was able to offer that guidance. Certainly, to tell a property owner, you don't have to call me every day about this. That's rude, number one, unprofessional, and I'm sorry that it was just dropped on your laps, but be a homeowner. Be an 84-year-old senior citizen who doesn't have tens of thousands of dollars to drop into a 100-year-old home to make it be lead-free. No, this house will never be lead-free. What it's gonna be is lead-safe, we hope. But it's not just from a coat of paint. There had to be cleaning done, there had to be lead encapsulating paint done, then it had to be cleaned again, another coat of lead encapsulating paint, latex paint. So don't say, just give it a fresh coat of paint, you'll be good. That's not the answer.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in, and I'm sure I'm not going to look into what may transpire there. You know, this is a state law that was dumped on us.
Yes.
We had no choice. We weren't given options. And so most people did exactly what we did. They hired a firm to do it because it's in and out money. And so I'm more surprised the DCA, if that's what falls under, gave you those kind of answers.
The DCA gave those answers. The DCA's definition of lead abatement is this. Lead abatement is a set of measures designed to permanently eliminate lead-based paint hazards. That's it. Did that help you out? Tell you what you needed to do? No, it didn't. Their definition for interim controls is a set of measures designed to reduce temporarily human exposure or likely exposure to lead-based paint hazards, including specialized cleaning, repairs, or potential hazards.
But it does sound
That's
like
it.
you have, you read it a few minutes ago, it sounds like you have some sort of interim remediation plan, is that right?
Of our own, but
Yeah,
according to
who gave you
Lou,
that? Yeah.
we're not supposed to be doing it ourselves.
Who gave you the remediation? You quoted remediation, who gave you that?
I got that definition from the website for,
Yeah, you know, painted.
we
doesn't
have,
painted,
we just happen to have another tenant who is, in that business.
Okay.
Who, he works for a guy, and so he knew You can't dry sand it, you have to use lead encapsulating paint.
Right.
You can't just go over latex paint. So he just happened to know that. But what about the thousands of other township people that this is gonna happen to that don't have that? They don't have that knowledge, they don't have that kind of person in their life. You know, even that document, that 3-page document, send it out to property owners and say, hey, this is what you need to look for. If we see this, we're gonna fail you. Guess what? She failed us for the ceiling. It's tiles. It's tiles like this. How can you fail that? You can't. That's not lead paint. It's a kitchen tile. Did the same thing in a bedroom, failed that. And to me, that's a conflict of interest. The only person who you can get in touch with on that gigantic list of people that do abatement and remediation, nobody calls you back. And the 7 or 8 people that we did get in contact with said, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. And the other ones just didn't bother to call back. But darn it, Lou did. Lou did, boy, they did. Because they haven't lined their pockets with enough cash yet. Because they're not just using our township. They've got Mount Olive Township. They've got Chester Borough. They've got Chester Township. They have Peapack Gladstone. And those people, though, they're screwed because they're just getting wipe tested. They don't even get a visual inspection. So, honestly.
Well, this is a state mandate.
I understand
So
that,
it's every
but how can we
county
use the
from north
same?
to south.
Right, I understand that, but using the same company for inspection and remediation is a conflict of interest, when they're the only ones who will answer their phone. So how do I know that she didn't just go in the house and say, yeah, I'm gonna fail this, because that'll line our pockets with some more cash? I'm not saying that's what happened. I know the house probably needed to be painted, right? But how do I don't think the township was prepared at all. You guys weren't prepared, like you said, it was dumped on you, but more importantly, it was dumped on your taxpayers. And for them to have no preparation whatsoever, just send us $340 because you're getting inspected for lead. We didn't know what that meant. We didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they were going in there with one of those guns. I'm like, if they go in there with their gun, we're screwed, right? Because they can see through all the layers of paint. And then they said a visual inspection, and I said, how can they fail us for lead? You can't see it, right? So how can you see it? So all they're basing this on is where a bathroom door swells in the humidity and it rubs on the door. They're, oh, that's, that's deteriorated paint because it rubs where the lock goes. So paint the whole bathroom because of one spot? Oh, that windowsill has marks on it because when you get home from work, your dog gets excited to see you, so he puts his paws up on the windowsill and he makes marks. That went through the paint, so now it's deteriorated paint, so that's failed. So every single windowsill in the house is failed. I don't agree with that. We painted the house less than 3 years ago, but had we had that 3-page document, we would have known what to look for. We didn't have that. You guys don't send it to us, and Lou doesn't send it when they make the appointment. The only way that that happens is if you make the appointment on their portal, it happens. Like, you make the appointment settled, bink, it shoots off this email 3-page PDF file.
John, can we put that on our website? That 3-page?
Yeah, we could put that with the health department information concerning this program, so people know what it's related to.
Yeah, it was really, it was really a bad situation that they didn't show up till 7:30 at night. We have tenants there that have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. That's not acceptable. And you're kind of just at their, actually Blue Environmental called us yesterday. You know why they called us? Because my husband badmouthed them on Facebook. That's why. They said that their marketing manager saw that he had written something that they didn't like on Facebook. So they wanted to call to make sure that everything was okay. That's when I got that 3-page document, and not before. So it's like you have to make noise to get something done, and it's not okay. We had our inspection done on June 19th. We did not get our results until our postmark was July 5th on our paperwork. But the DCA website says that you guys have to have the results to us in 10 days. Does that even make sense? Can you even do that in 10 days? How could you do that with so many houses being inspected? How could you possibly have the manpower to have that? It's not like Roxbury Township's like East Orange, We're not some huge township with a bunch of employees, right? We're a small municipality. But this small municipality has a lot of homes that are gonna need to be inspected for this. We're not the only landlords of a building, and this building is old, and you didn't prepare us for this properly. And if you didn't prepare us for it properly, you didn't prepare anybody else for it properly. And, I think that, Mr. Caputo has gotta be the most unprofessional. I'm a registered nurse. As a health person myself, don't say you don't need to call me every day about this. Dude, you're in charge of the health department, and this is a health department issue. We're looking to you for help. We're asking you, help us out. What are they looking for? Oh, don't call me every day about this. I'm getting ready to retire. I don't care about your retirement status. How does that affect me? How does that affect my father-in-law's ability to be able to do what needs to be done? So when they come back, we can at least get a lead safe certificate. Because that's all you can get. We're not gonna get lead safe in that house, and we know it. It's not gonna happen in that house. You know, and we have a house in Chester Township that we rent out as well. So we were going through this with them and with Lou there as well. And I just, if Lou's gonna be on the list of inspectors, I don't think they should be able to be on the list of mediators. I think it's a conflict of interest, and you can't prove to me that they're not trying to line the pockets.
That's the state.
I don't know, I'll find out, it's probably just a recommendation of abatement companies.
Yeah, it's a huge list of companies, but the problem, like, I got in touch personally with 7 of them that said they don't do it. The other 5 never returned my call at all. And you can't get a real, I read to you the definition for interim controls. They say you can do interim controls, but that doesn't help me. You know, and if I didn't know somebody who did do that, we'd be screwed. We'd be over there painting with latex paint, thinking we're doing the right thing, and they're gonna come back and fail us again. You know, but now we know. What did we do? We took down the bathroom door and we cleaned it, right? So now it's not gonna rub. So there won't be that bare spot. But also excluded from that Department of Health, porches are excluded. A front porch is excluded, okay? Guess what they failed? The front porch. It's excluded. But now that she mentioned it in the report, guess what we have to do? We have to fix the front porch, right? There's nothing wrong with it. This area is not even as wide as that. It's probably as wide as that table at the end of your thing there. It's this big. It's an area you walk through, you keep your shoes off so you don't bring mud in the house, and you walk into the house. I'm not talking about a sitting porch. You're not sitting out there sipping iced tea, watching the traffic go by. You know, it's a mud room. And we were failed for that, even though that's excluded according to the DCA. Ever since we failed, I have done nothing but live on the internet about this, because that's just how I am. And I just felt like there was something, like, my question is, this law went into effect July 22nd. Why did it take you guys so long? Why so long? Why so long to send us notification that it needed to be done? Why so long to get it done? Because actually, on July 22nd, 2024, our municipality is out of compliance. We're out of compliance. We had 2 years. So
We're not out of compliance, we have a program. We have a program in place by the date that's required to be in place by the state, so we're in compliance. It's the landlord's responsibility to get their property tested. That's how the law reads. We can certainly advise people and help create lists. We won't be aware of every property in Roxbury Township that's rented. We don't have possibly that level of detail. Possibly people don't register with us whenever they rent their properties. So as a landlord, yourself and whomever else is a landlord, you're responsible to know what the law is. And it qualifies for homes that are past a certain age, right?
Right.
It's
1978 and older.
Is the cutoff
older.
there?
Correct.
So we're in compliance. There could be properties that don't get tested in time. That's, the landlord is in violation of the state law if they don't get their property tested. The township's not in violation. The township's not mandated to create a list and ensure everybody gets tested. The landlord's responsible. So we have a program in place. It was in place by the date that's required by the state of New Jersey. Whether or not every home and every landlord is meeting the requirements of the state law, I couldn't tell you.
No, we are, because we had our property scheduled on the proper time, but we only are because I thought enough to go onto the website to see when we had to be scheduled by. But
As a
again,
landlord in New Jersey, the law's been in place for 2 years. People have a responsibility as landlords to be abreast of the law. It's
And
not
how
the
do they
town, let me
find
just finish.
out about
It's not
these
the
laws?
township's responsibility to inform you of the law. We'll certainly help, and we're doing that, but it's the landlord's responsibility to know what the laws are that affect their property.
okay, and how does the
They're-
landlord find out that these laws went into effect? We're not,
You tell me, you're a landlord, there's probably all sorts of laws that impact you as a landlord. And anybody that's a landlord, tenant client, there's all sorts of things you need to be aware of that the town may not be responsible for, that the state passes, or the federal government passes. We're not the broker of all that information. It's complicated,
well,
it's not easy being a
according to
landlord.
DCA, the municipality in which the rental property resides is responsible for
We're
this.
responsible to run the program, we're not responsible for a landlord that doesn't decide to get their property tested.
When we're not notified by the township until May of 2024 for something that needs to be done by July of 2024, how can you not be responsible for that? If you sent us the documentation saying, hey, you gotta get your property inspected, it's a rental property, it needs to be inspected for lead, we had no issue doing that. We wrote the check, we mailed it probably the same day, and made the appointment straight away.
Right.
But the fact is that we did not get that notification until May of 2024. We're not legislators like you guys are. We're not elected officials, but you guys are our elected officials. So I think a little bit, it's okay for the township to count on you guys for that kind of guidance.
Right, well, the information was sent, you said multiple times we're out of compliance. And that's not an accurate statement.
Blue
So
Environmental
I'll
says there's
leave it
over
at that.
10,000 homes.
That's it, that's totally inaccurate, totally inaccurate. There's not even 10,000 housing units in Roxbury Township, let alone, this is for rental properties, not people that live in their own house, owner occupied, and it's for only homes that were built before 1978. So you've already taken the number down significantly, so whoever's giving you that information from Lou, or wherever that information's coming from on the internet, or wherever, it's inaccurate. Not even close to being
The
accurate.
DCA is posting inaccurate information on their
There's no way
website.
the DCA has posted on the website that Roxbury Township has 10,000 housing units that need tested for lead-based paint.
No, they say there's more than 10,000 houses in this county already that have not even signed up for their first inspection.
Oh, for Morris County, I couldn't tell you. I never heard Morris County come out of your mouth until we just talked about Roxbury Township and 10,000 homes. So if it's Morris County, I can't answer that. You could be right about that.
Right, but my point is, we wouldn't have known to be in compliance without the notification from you guys in May that the house had to be scheduled for the inspection in the first place. So, and, unless, there's some secret thing out in the galaxy just for landlords to go look at.
Tracy, can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Are you upset with the township because we sent the letter in May?
I'm upset with the township because I feel like if this law went into effect in 2022, how come it took until May of 2024 for us to be notified it needed to be inspected?
It took time for us to develop our program. It took us time to work on our bid with Lou, what we thought would work on behalf of the residents. So it took time to put that in place.
Okay, so that's an answer to my question. I just wanted an answer to the question. My other problem is that I think that we should be able to call people like Mark Caputo and people in your health department for
I agree with you 100% about that.
for answers
This
about what to
program
do.
just started. So for us, it just started. There's certainly gonna be bumps along the way, trying to make sure property owners get tested. I mean, the state's goals, I think, are laudable, right? They're concerned about lead-based paint and it impacting people that are in homes. And,
Oh, us too.
so
We wanna make sure we protect our future,
yeah, so it's
and
probably
it's
a very-
absolutely.
very
Well,
good.
who do you go to for the answer, though? When nobody gives you an answer, who do you go to give you the right, correct answer of what to do to solve the
Sir,
problem?
if you want to speak, you need to get up and state your name and address for the record. And we're gonna have to move this on. I am on the DCA website, and they have quite a bit of information here.
They do, and all of those, if you look at that big list of contractors they have, I mean, Jackie called 20 of them. You'll be lucky if you, A, get a phone
So
on.
the list was generated by DCA?
Yes, not by you,
That answers the question.
not by you. The list was not generated by you. You gave a link to a site, which we went to, which is where we found. So you gave a link to some people who could help, but they can't help.
We gave a link, I think we only supplied the information on who's doing the testing, not remediation.
Right, but you have to think about the fact that stuff's gonna have to be remediated. I mean,
Yeah, but you can choose from everybody, from a long list. We haven't chosen our spoke.
I understand, and that list is crazy. It's not, nobody answers the phones, and if they do, they say, I'm sorry, we don't do that.
That I can't control.
We don't do
I
that.
know what they
We
listed
can't
there.
control that, Tracy.
But I don't know. Again, we don't know who.
I got it. Hey, they got these air conditioners. I know.
Well, it looks like it, anyway,
Thank you.
because Lou Environmental's on the list, and Lou Environmental are the inspectors, so. it
One
looks
thing,
like
and we,
anyway.
I will clarify for the council, whether Lou can do abatement work in Roxbury, because keep in mind, a lot of towns, they don't use Lou. So for the towns that don't, a lot of towns have their own staff, it depends on the town, they may have their own staff that does the testing rather than use contractors that don't certify. In Roxbury to do the testing, they don't have a lead certified person to do the testing. Lou can go out and do work in those towns because they're an abatement contractor, so we will clarify that on Roxbury because they're doing the testing here, so we will clarify that.
I just think that's a conflict of interest, because I
Understood.
don't know that you can be
I agree.
100% certain.
I understand what you're saying, but I think in other towns that wouldn't be an issue because they're not doing the testing, but I understand what you're saying. We'll get an answer on that.
Okay, and you have to say who you are.
Mike Roscoe, 64 Palace Lane, Chester, New Jersey. My thing is, when you call, it's like Mark Caputo, or you call Lou Environmental, nobody tells you what you need to do to solve the problem. They don't tell you that, you can go in and you can paint, use a lead abatement paint, and then go in and do that, and then a couple of coats of paint. They don't say that. They always tell you to call the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, and nobody ever has a straight answer. Now, we wanna take care of the problem, but we don't have any guidance on how to do that.
So if you go to newjersey.gov/DCA, you can pull up a 27-page document, lead-based paint in rental dwellings, a comprehensive guide to identifying and addressing lead-based hazards in rental dwellings.
Yes, and I just got that yesterday, up
Okay.
until recently, until Lou Environmental called me because, and I didn't really badmouth them, I just said that it was impossible to get a hold of anybody on the phone. And apparently their marketing department didn't care for that, so they called me directly, and then I got all this information just as of yesterday. But before that, for the last 2-3 months, we've had no idea what to do. There's been no guidance from anybody. You know,
So we can also link this guide, I think, in our health department with the lead-based ordinance.
I just
And
feel that-
also, to also clarify, the regulations were proposed in 2022, but they weren't adopted by the state until May of 2023.
Okay.
Okay, so there was that, and then we adopted ours the end of January of 2024. So.
And you just had to have a plan in place by July
Correct.
2022.
Correct, so, there was some time, but we had to make that plan between May 1st of 2023, and then in January, we introduced the ordinance, read it out twice, and passed it January 20th.
I mean, understand, the document that we get that said that we failed came from Mark Caputo, so who are you gonna call,
That's,
right? That's who you're gonna call. That's your first person you're gonna call, and he's like, I have no idea, this
And
is just
even
stuff on my
yesterday,
lap, I'm
up
retired.
until
I
yesterday, I
don't
couldn't
care.
see what those pictures were. I don't know what the problem is to take care of it. Until yesterday, that's when Lou Environmental actually sent me same size pictures, but they were a little clearer. She tried to clear them up for me and in color. But till then, I had no idea what I was looking for.
right,
So, we're trying to fix the problem, but we don't know how to do it unless somebody says, you need to do this and this, and look at, and say, here's your problem area, this is what you need to take care of. He did tell me, he said, what you don't wanna do is just go in there and slop some paint on the problem area. Give it a nice paint job, paint the whole place, and you should be good. That was the best I got.
But according
That's
to
what we're doing.
DCA, Mayor, that would not have been good, because we would not have used lead encapsulating. paint.
gotcha,
So that's not the answer.
So now we know that we can go to our website get our long list of how we can abate the
All
situation.
we can do is share information. You're not-
Right.
Thank you, Tracy, for bringing this to us.
I just wanted you guys to know that if we weren't prepared, that we're not the only people who weren't prepared.
And, so now we know a little bit more, and we're going to be able to help the next person, and thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Thank
Council.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're next. Come on up. And state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Paula Anthon, 23 Allward Lane in Secasana. I only need a minute or two. We have lived in this street for about 60 years in the same house. And in all the years, they put in the sewers in late 1970s, which they broke the street up and did a lousy job of redoing it. And I have watched this lousy job since the late 70s. Now that I'm old and I go for a walk, it's got holes, potholes that you fill all the time and it comes out again. And I have one request. I spoke to Mr. Blood last year, and he said we're near the top to do Woodward Lane because it hasn't been done in many, many years. I would like you to, since I've been paying taxes for 60 years, my tax money alone maybe is enough to pay for the street. I don't know. But to do it, put it on the list. I'm not going to live another 60 years.
Oh,
I would
Mrs.
like,
Hampton,
no,
you
I know,
might.
it's too, getting that old is really
Oh,
bad.
my goodness.
No, but we don't know how long we're gonna live. But I would like to be able to look at a street that looks proper, walk on a street and you won't break your neck because it's got holes and cracks and all other kinds of things, and put us at the top. I think I've waited long enough. And I know there are other streets, and I want to thank the people. Lots of nice things have happened in Roxbury in the 60 years that we've been here. We never moved, so it must have been okay. You know, people who stay are usually happy. They don't come to a meeting unless they got something they want to ask for. I never asked for anything. I just come to this building and pay the taxes. And to please put Allward on the top
Mrs.
for the
Hampton?
next year. I know you make your budget,
Soon.
okay? I don't know when you do it. It's around now.
Yes.
But
Yes.
please do it, and I will, maybe I'll live there another 5 years, I don't know. But I want to walk on a smooth street that looks nice. And I've tried to convince some of the people who bought houses there in the last couple of years, little houses that they've bidded up into $600,000 more. But you don't even see them. They're still working day and night to pay these mortgages. So I wanted to tell them, you paid all this money. Don't you want a nice street in front of your expensive house? You don't see a dog. You don't see anybody, only a deer, because they're all working. So I'm the spokesman. I don't care what they want. I think we deserve it. 60 years,
Mrs. Anton, do you have a son
Anton.
do you have a son named Ira?
that's my husband.
Okay.
My husband is 99 years old.
Wow.
He was a veterinarian. He used to do the rabies clinic
That's why I
in
know
this
the name.
town for many years.
That's why.
And he sold his place there on Route 10, probably about 20 years ago, 19 years ago. And you see, none of these people lasted long, but you've got a really nice deluxe hotel there now. And I saw that they were asking for that. I said, my God, Roxbury must have become a rich community. That people can go and pay all that money to board a dog, like the dog is gonna know whether it's a deluxe room or not such a deluxe room. Some of my husband's happiest clients came to his simple place because they were nice people who really took care of their dog.
I love it.
Did you go there?
Yes.
I did too.
Yeah, because he had
Right,
this.
see, Annie did too.
Actually, my daughter, when she was little, he got her a cat.
I know,
Sylvester.
My husband was Mr. Kindness. I mean, he was the kindest, hardest person. He never would have been able to be a veterinarian in today's world with the way they operate, because, and that's why we stayed in one
There you
single
go.
house for 60 years, because my husband couldn't care less about big, expensive, showy things.
What's the,
he wanted to, that's why I also lived at 99 years old, because he,
What's the name of that street,
he
ma'am?
had good values in his life. So please, my husband, he may look at the road, I don't even know if he knows.
Mr. Sinise,
When we
are you
pave
writing
it,
down the name of the
Pave
street?
that road, do it now.
we will do it in your late husband's memory, how's
No,
that?
he's still alive.
Oh, he is, oh, he's 99, oh, he's 99, you
He's
didn't say that.
99, and we have
Sorry.
this caregiver told to me, Pop is strong old man. He's gonna live to 110. And I say, oh my God, you're gonna own my house.
So when he's 100, please let the council know.
Well, if he makes it to 100, it'll be noteworthy. But he's really, he's not in good shape, but he's strong. That's all I can tell you. And I don't know how good that combination is. Does he know I'm here tonight? No. Would he come and ever talk? No, he would never.
That's
ask
all
for
right.
anything. Okay, please, I
Thank you.
appreciate it very much.
We know your street.
And I see, I'm going home because, you know, my daughter says you're driving at night. I said, don't worry, I can
Be
see.
safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to get up and speak? No? Seeing none, I will close the first public portion. That brings us to reports of council meetings and representative council committees new business. We will start with Councilman.
Old Succotash Day, sorry about that. It's coming up on September the 7th. You have an opportunity, please come out to that. Also, if I may, Mr. Bucco, I know that you met maybe a week or two ago with our friends at the DEP about water connections associated with this. To the extent that you can talk about that, please give us an update.
Well, it was a preliminary meeting, obviously John was there, was the township engineer and staff. We laid out for them, the area around the landfill that has been impacted, by the PFAS positive, test results. And, they're gonna take that back, take a look at it. And, we showed them how the water line could be done, main, put in that area. So they're gonna take it back, we're gonna price it out, you're gonna look at it. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting. So, I thought it was very productive. John, have anything to add? I just think that, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, along those topics, also John, for you, the Balance Commission plan, is that forthcoming, or maybe you can provide us a little insight into that?
We'll get a follow-up. I know the consultant's still working on that and in addition to other things for us, but I will certainly get an update from council on where we stand on the draft of that plan.
Thank you. By the way, Jackie, thank you for breaking the record for marriages in the Township of Roxbury. I haven't seen anything quite like it.
Yeah, there's a few under my belt right now, with a couple more coming up. Thank you.
And the last thing I want to say, folks, it seems like when you're an elected official, you'll only come to one meeting per week, and that's the extent of what happens. And all of us are on a variety of different commissions, committees, boards. I'd like to give a shout out to Jim and Bob. I don't know whether you realize how many meetings that they've had to attend as a result of some of the largest applications we've ever seen in the Township of Roxbury. But the amount of effort with this, coupled with the amount of effort to address some of these very, very large applications is astounding. It really is. I mean, I could honestly say that they probably could fill up this dais up here with paperwork that they've had to read over the last 6 to 12 months. So a big shout out to both Jim and Bob, who serve on our planning board, for the time and the effort they have been putting into this. It doesn't get published, and nobody knows about it. but it's a big job, it's a big effort, and, they do a good job, so I just wanna make that public.
Thank you, Rick.
I'm done now.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Crowley.
Thank you, Mayor, just one quick thing. Got a couple calls on solicitors coming in town. I just asked Amy to reiterate what the rules that now I understand there's some solicitors that don't need to show a badge, don't need to do anything, but knock on the door.
No, that they do need to show a badge, but anyone under the Board of Public Utilities umbrella, such as Verizon or Cablevision, any kind of water or electricity, things like that, they don't need to get a solicitor's permit from the town. They do need to have a badge, but they should, and we ask them and have been very successful in getting them to let us know before they go out, so that we know what car they're driving, who's out there, that kind of thing, so people are aware. We had a situation today that they didn't let us know, but they said they will in the future. So I don't know if there's a new group of people around or, you know, in different companies and stuff. We haven't had a situation since 2020 with that, but they do not need to tell us that they're going out and soliciting for if they're under the BPU umbrella.
We've had a number of people this year coming through soliciting and not having an ID, not having anything at all. And so I would just recommend to any residents, if someone comes to your door, ask them for their ID. I think the gentleman said you didn't have their ID.
I did not know that. They should be visible, they should be wearing it.
And if they come to your house, I don't know, you can always call the police department to find out what's going on, should they be there or not. But there's a lot, and I'll tell you, I've had probably 4 already this summer come to my house. When you ask them for an ID, they seem to want to leave it to you. So be very careful, there's a lot of scams out there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Patillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple questions for John. John, do we have updates on ice retardant, houseboat, and nuisance ordinances?
Yeah, houseboat's ready to go. Tony's prepared that. We just need to have council adopt it. I can certainly provide that to you. It's a zoning amendment, so we'll go through the zoning process for amending. The ice retardant, we've reviewed that. I mean, I've provided recommendations and comments on that from Roxbury's perspective. All the towns have ice retardant ordinances to the best of my knowledge, around Lake Pacon. Maybe all slightly a little bit different. You know, I've provided commentary, I think, to you and to Mark on what my recommendations are and how it should read. I don't know where we go with that. I don't know if we can agree collectively on the 4 towns on getting the ordinance specifically in a way that works for every town. For instance, our ordinance is more general when it comes to enforcement and gives a lot of leeway to who enforces the ordinance. It's a direction of the town manager, right? It gives some flexibility. One of the ordinances, Medicare PACCON, is very specific who does the enforcement. The zoning officer, construction official. Yeah, I'm not interested in doing that. If that's what the council ultimately agrees to, that's fine, but I think some of the ordinance we've already adopted kind of works for us. I'm not sure where the other towns stand on that. We have not spent a lot of time as a group talking about that. We spent more time recently talking about nuisance noise. Then we have ice retardant, and the houseboat. Jefferson's adopted their houseboat ordinance. They're the only town that's adopted it so far. I think Jefferson's probably more apt to having that issue in their town. They've adopted it. That ordinance we have is consistent. The language is consistent for all towns. It's really prohibitive of houseboats on Lake Pacon and really other lakes that may be the only one that would work in Roxbury, but some of the other towns have some other lakes I think that apply to also. Noise nuisance is something that we've talked about. We're actually using, to a certain extent, Roxbury's ordinance as a model. We've met recently, as of last week, finalized some of the language. Our goal is to get the prosecutors from the 4 towns, and actually Doug Manning, who's our prosecutor, is also on Arlington, so there's really 3 prosecutors, just to make sure that they're comfortable with this ordinance if it ends up here in one of the municipal courts, that they're comfortable with the language. So hopefully we'll get that in place and bring something back to council. I think for us, it'll be part of the larger noise ordinance that we already have in place. We'll probably try to fit the pieces in there. And in Tony's office, Bob Ostide on Tony's behalf has been the one taking a look at the different languages related to what's being proposed. So we're comfortable with it. It'll pass legal muster from his perspective. He's provided some good guidance on how to regulate noise, how things can be subjective, and could be troublesome for enforcement. So I think that one's coming along. I think it's late in the season, but I think we can have that in place for next season for the folks on the lake that are actually doing the enforcement. I think we can come, we can definitely come together on something with the noise.
Jeff, you have a question?
I do. John, one of my concerns on the ice retardant one, we've been working on that in the Lake Commission for probably 2 years, is that I'm very interested in how it reads that if the zoning officer comes to the front of your house, but needs to go to the back of your house to go look at the ice retardant system, which is in the back of the houses, and he finds other violations, are we opening up a resident to other violations? Because we essentially didn't ask for permission to go through their property, but they had to go through the whole property to go look at it.
Right. I'm gonna let Tony answer that.
First of all, if they go to somebody's house to look at the ice retardant system, they gotta get permission to enter the person's property. You just can't walk through the property to go to the back.
And they believe that from what I understand, they believe that one of the problems is wintertime, people have the house closed up and the system on, and they want someone to come and inspect the system. So there's no one in the house. But you're saying, okay,
And then if
that's what
that's-
I'm looking for, is where
Yeah,
they have to get
listen,
permission to
that's-
look at it.
They have to get permission. You just can't go on somebody's private property unless it's in, exigent circumstance, where it's an emergency. And that's not an emergency. I mean, the only thing I would say is that, the towns are gonna have to try to figure out who's not there in the winter and maybe they can get a release, to enter the property. But, if you go trudging through the back of somebody's private property and you find something, you're not gonna be able to use that anyway.
And I wanna make sure that it's not an emergency, that if they have a ice retardant system that opens such an area that involves into the next person's area, that's an emergency that I'm just looking for what the wording is gonna be for those types of problems. We've been discussing this for over 2 years.
Well, it's a sticky situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if something is in plain view, right, then a law enforcement officer has the right to pursue that. But if it's not in plain view, then that's an issue. And you just can't go searching through people's properties.
Thank you.
I think sometimes the inspections occur with adjoining property owners, because depending on the layout, you might be able to get permission from an adjoining property owner that lets you onto their property where you can do it.
I'm more worried that they come and find four other things, and our residents are not opened up by this ordinance. Is somebody coming to the property, not on their property, coming adjoining or whatever, or there's an emergency, and then they get a list of violations.
Understood.
Hopefully it won't happen.
Hopefully they should do all in compliance. Next, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, just a couple more things. Mayor, as you know, the past few meetings, I've been bringing up Shippingport Road, the trench that's been dug across there. I believe the temporary fix has been made, it is much better, so thank you for getting that done.
The goal is to
John,
get a permanent one in place.
that's the
We've got
goal,
that.
but
Steve's
there's
working on
small
that.
steps in the right direction.
He's
I'll
working
take
on,
it.
he's in contact with the gas company to get that permanently restored properly across the full width.
John, a couple things up in Landing Road. The building that was taken down on the corner of, I think it's 102 Landing Road, the billiards building where they repaved it.
Right.
The county still owns that, correct?
Yes.
Is there any way we can have something that doesn't allow overnight parking there, trucks, and it's not a rest stop?
Yeah, we could certainly ask them to do something to be coordinated off. We'll talk to them and let them know what the concern is and see if they can come up with a suggestion on how to address it.
Could you, I don't know who, Landing Road at the interstate, at the interchange of Route 80, there's a giant tree that completely blocks some of the interstate highway signs and the additional traffic, unless you know the area. Could we ask them to look at that?
We'll look at
It's
that.
the site where their staging site in
Right.
between.
That's more likely than not DOT, but we'll look at that, try to find out the responsible party. It's probably the state, either way, regardless. Interstate eighty or there's probably in the right of way of eighty.
Just a couple of things there, sir. Yesterday, the mayor and I, we attended, a meeting with the NJDEP, on, Lake Pacon. A couple of things to report on that is, the Roxbury Township has been asking, the state park for, some sort of reservation system that would prevent people from blindly coming up to the state park and not being able to enter the park, and now they're on our streets, they're driving around, they're looking for something to do, like any family would do on a summer day. We've asked for this reservation system for about 3 years now, and in our meeting yesterday, the state has told us that they are looking into software to bring this reservation system and a pilot program to the park. They did not give us a timeline, but it is a great step in the right direction with that. Something else they've also told us that we kind of question that may be able to be solved with a reservation system is they only allow 300 cars into that park at this point in time, where in the past they've allowed over 3,000 cars into the park. They currently have 9 lifeguards on staff, which they feel is appropriate for the amount of beach they have right now. Hopefully with a reservation system, they'll be able to allow some people to come in and use different parts of the park with that reservation that they make on that new system. Also, real fast, the Lake Pacon Commission meeting happened last night. They're having a buoy problem on Lake Pacon, where people, lakefront residents are just putting unauthorized buoys out. So the commission and the state are looking at to solve that issue, which is met with both good and bad reviews. And then finally, I just want to also thank the planning board for taking action against the developer of Stonewater. We have residents that are directly affected by things that they're doing on their property. So I'd like to thank the planning board for taking action to ensure that those issues are fixed. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman Riley.
I was waiting most of the last 2 weeks, so before you, I don't know if Fred brought this up, you and I got talking on the emails about, 46 or something like that, Rose Bridge. So, and I've seen it myself, I'm up 46 rush hour, go on the hills, launch somewhere. They thought because of the overpass, that maybe something could be installed on there to help against the sun glare. It sounded like a pretty good idea, rational idea, because it's something we get sometimes.
Jim, just for clarity, it's westbound and it's Interstate 80 overpass?
Yes. Yes, westbound. People that are living on the coast speed, so, with that, like, so yeah, it made some sense, maybe we could have a conversation with DOT about that. It'd be hard. That was it.
Thank you, Councilman DeFilippo.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna keep it short. The really great event coming up on Thursday, the third Habitat for Humanity House is gonna get dedicated this one on 398 West Dewey Avenue. The ceremony, dedication ceremony is at 1 o'clock. This is the third time that Roxbury has partnered with Habitat for Humanity to provide affordable housing to people in Roxbury. It's a great partnership in that we get the ability to have affordable housing which is needed, and Habitat does a great job putting that together. But then beyond take it easy. Beautiful weather, there are concerts everywhere. The library, over at the Horseshoe Lake. I recommend people get out and walk around Horseshoe Lake. It's just beautiful, and there's a lot going on around it. So, just finally, yes, I appreciate the compliments on the planning board. Really, the whole planning board needs to be chaired by Charles Bowers. And I gotta be honest, the other thing that needs to be said is the enormous effort made by our staff, our planning staff. None of this could be possible, none of the work we have to do would be possible without their work. And I don't think the township has any idea the enormous burden large projects have, like the one we just have been looking at recently, have on the township. It's a huge burden, just in the time and the effort it takes to look at these large projects, but also the impact on other people who want to go through our planning process. So, first of all, just kudos to our planning staff for having endured years of having to review some of these large projects. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Carey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's see. John, just wanted to see if we could get an update on the Rieger Road signage.
Yeah, I know the PD's looking at that. We're changing some of the signage. I don't know if it's done yet. I'm gonna put Dean or Steve on the spot here. Some of the speed limit signs, I think, were inaccurate based on the ordinance that was in place. We're gonna fix those. We can just do that administratively because the ordinance is a little bit confusing. So the east, west, north, south descriptions, so we're gonna clean that up. And then I know that, the police department spent time with Mount Olive trying to confirm exactly what additional signage we can put in there to limit trucks that are going through. We want to limit through trucks that are coming through the area. If you're familiar with it, you don't want to get on the side of Rieger that's steep and wide.
Right. And especially, I've seen, I got behind a box truck that was going up the hill and it was a nightmare.
It's tough to navigate. If they're too big, they won't make it.
I'm surprised he made it. All right, other than that, our Board of Education superintendent is having a coffee meeting on Thursday at 7 p.m. And the last thing that I had was, there's still in the process of a search for a principal for the high school. And that's the last item I had.
Great, thank you. That brings me, I want to start out that Mikey Sherrill will have a town hall meeting Thursday at 6 p.m. But today, I did something very fun with Senator Bucco. Senator Bucco actually led point today on the sheriff's marine vessel while a bunch of us from the Lake Papon Foundation, a few mayors, Marty Kane, brought Senator Cory Booker out on the study hall, which is the floating classroom that the foundation runs. So we had 2 sheriff's officers escorting us all around Lake Papon today with our very own senator leading the charge. We were able to bring Senator Booker down actually into Landing Channel to show him our project that we're doing, which we're dredging, and we're also building back up the floating island. So he was very excited to see that. The entire ride, he looked like a kid in a candy store. He had no idea that New Jersey is really like this, coming from down in Bergen County or Hudson, wherever. So he was really, Essex. So he was very impressed with New Jersey's largest lake. He got to run some experiments at the study hall. That's the study hall, HULL, that they are able to do with field trips that go out. They've had quite a number. The study hall has had a number of schools out there this summer. So the senator was most impressed with Morris County, Sussex County, the 4 towns around the lake. He got to see a little bit of each, and I hope he learned something. Now, the next exciting thing on my plate, I'm going to, once we're the dedication. They're like, but why, Jackie, why would you miss something that you love so much? Because I'm getting to go to the Windlass to have lunch with Governor Murphy and the other 3 mayors around the lake. And this is something he does every summer, I believe, so that's really exciting. So I got to meet our United States Senator, I got to meet my governor. It's exciting to meet these people because you always have to respect the position and the offices, so I'm kind of excited. Thank you for that. Yes, my husband said to me, "Are you paying?" And I'm like, "Well, they invited me, so I'm thinking, no, I don't know." But I'm very excited to be able to meet another governor. He's not the first one I was able to meet. So,
You should ask the governor to come to the dedication.
I did already. No, I've been in contact with Congressman King's office and the governor's office to let them know that Habitat for Humanity is also being dedicated.
Congressman Kane is speaking, so is
Great.
Senate.
So, excellent. So I did invite the governor to our Habitat for Humanity dedication. Why not? Why not? He can only say no, but he could have said yes. So I apologize. I can't tamp my personality down. So the governor should have a fun lunch. And I think that's all I have. John.
Nothing.
Senator. Amy. All right. Next up is new business, old business, nothing. Matters requested, referred by council members, manager, attorney, or clerk. Our school resource officer, that would be.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Chief, if you could, council has your memo, if you could give them a brief overview of what this program is, the request that we received from the school, and maybe some history, because, some of the council members have been here for some time, just on, kind of last time we had this position in place. I think you were still in the department, but some of the history behind the position, and maybe what this is.
Sure. Okay, so we haven't had a dedicated school resource officer in many years. It's been at least 15 years. When we had 50 officers, we had someone full-time in Eisenhower and full-time in Roxbury High School. Since that time, kind of staffing went down over the years. We haven't had someone dedicated, and the school has had a request for that for a long time. What we do continue to do since that time is we teach. It was the DARE program, now it's called the LEAD program in 5th grade, Lincoln Roosevelt, and we've been doing that ever since. We also run the programs down there. We've done every 15 minutes. We haven't been able to get it going since COVID, but we're doing that every other year. There's Alive at 55 is another, Alive at 25 is another program that we do. So we run programs and we teach down there, but we don't have a dedicated school resource officer. So last year I've been working with Dr. Santora, the superintendent. He definitely has a want to have someone there that's a little more allocated to the school. So what we were trying to do is create kind of a shared service where we would hire a Class 2 officer. It would be a retired officer who still has a certification. They would pay the hourly rate. They would reimburse us an hourly rate. We would pay for the training and the uniform, and that person would be assigned to the school full-time. So they would be their go-to when they had any issues. They would continue to teach the program we're already teaching, and we would actually try to enhance it and perhaps teach more grades. At one time we taught 5th, 7th, and 9th, going back. Now we just teach 5th. The officer that we have that does it obviously has other responsibilities. So that's one of the issues we had. So it would kind of relieve us of having to have someone that's already has a workload in another area continue to do this, and for them they would have someone that could enhance the program and continue to do more things there, and they have someone that can be dedicated when they have an issue to call. Right now when they have an issue they call the main number, they get the officer that's in the area to respond, and then they allocate it, if it's a detective matter or if it's just a report, the officer there would take it. So that's what we had talked about, and we have listed we put the application period has been up. We have about a week left, and we will be doing the interviews in the next couple of weeks with the intent to try to bring someone in this fall.
You have a question, So your fingers first.
So this officer dedicated to the school?
Yes.
All the time, 100% dedicated to the school?
Yes.
So I'm not for or against, I'm not saying, take me to something, just asking the question, so I understand. If this officer is dedicated to the school 100% of the time, why would the township be paying for the training and uniforms and everything else that would come with that part?
That's generally the way these agreements work. You know, most of the other districts that have these types of programs cover the training and the uniform, and it's really not a very large cost. I mean, the training really requires the qualification twice a year, and the in-service training that we do here anyway. There's some stuff on the computer that they have to be allocated to do through the New Jersey state requirements, things like that. But there's not a real cost, and really that's just kind of the blueprint. Not many schools that do this pay for everything. It's kind of a little bit of a give and take, but there may be some out there. But you know, I had reached out to other chiefs in the county, and I have a couple of shared service, contracts that I kind of reviewed, and most of the ones actually all the ones I saw had two, but the ones I saw had that type of arrangement, and the superintendent where he came from had that arrangement also. So kind of hit his head, that's where, they had already had a situation like that in the past that worked out, so.
Brad?
So the school board hires their own security, hired by the school board. I believe they are all retired cops at this point, but they are strictly security. They don't have a PTC certification, police training commission. So basically you have 3 years to get hired as a police officer when you retire as a class 2 or class 3 before your certification runs out. Once after that time, you would have to go back to an academy to get recertified in New Jersey. So those officers, or those retired officers down there at the Board of Ed, most of them are well past that, and their only job is really security. They also handle more of the, like, if there's a fight in the school, or if they're dealing with a certain issue at the school, that's kind of their thing to handle. What our officer would do would be, like I said, we would handle the teaching and the programs, and then also if the individual, the officer wasn't teaching at the time, they would have a desk up at the high school. Primarily, they'd be district-wide if they needed them, but they would primarily be based at the high school, and they would be able to take the reports that come in rather than have our officer respond down there. The ones that are more serious, that require an investigation with the detective or whatnot, or prosecutor's office, then we would be getting involved anyway. But it would still eliminate a lot of the smaller incidents that we now handle on the patrol level.
So this is you're saying this is an expanded scope scenario, that they can be teaching as well as local security. Is that just at a high school, or is that with other schools in the district?
No, so right now, what I was saying was, we currently teach the LEAD program in 5th grade only. If this was to work out, we would try to at first, and like I said, years ago when we had full-time SROs, we used to teach it in 5th, 7th, and 9th grade. I think we would try to eventually get it to at least 5th and 7th grade at first, if we had someone to fill this position, outside of our department, outside of our full-time officers, I should say. And in addition to that, some of the programs we already run, we would try to enhance and have more interaction down there, and have a face that kind of the school can see every day and have more of a relationship with than a rotating group of officers that whoever's working in the area that day. So for us, it's also, the win part for us, besides having a better relationship with the school and having a direct contact that is, has a desk up here and a desk down there. The other benefit to us is, right now, we're kind of having someone do this position that's, like I said, managing other responsibilities. And if we were to get an outside person, hire them as a class 2, those duties would be removed from our full-time person, and the school would be paying for the education that we're providing, which right now we're not getting, compensated for. We're just allocating someone to do that.
The last couple of decades, we've had Brian Finney.
That's right. And he did a great job.
Yeah. He's since retired. So, how many hours was he spending half the time?
So, you mean that as of when we had Officer Feeney?
Officer Finney with the schools training.
Right.
And I know he was visible in the schools too.
Right.
Not just training.
He would walk around and just like our officer does now that does it. They're visible when they can be. That they do stop down there. But also Brian Feeney was also in the community services unit and had a lot of other responsibilities, associated with that position. It wasn't just the teaching. Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Right.
I'm
And
asking how much of his time was spent on the schools.
during the school year, I would say probably more like 75% of his time. In the summer, we would allocate him to different things, and obviously we would use him for any of the events in town that we had. We would put him in all the different events. You would usually see him. He made all the IDs in town. He did the alarms, and he did a lot of other duties. Yeah.
A lot of guys,
Yes.
But in theory, though, we're taking all that time back for the police department, which was allocated into these. So it's almost like creating another position without a position.
Well,
Partially due to running the schools, but we're gonna get the benefit of an extra proposition that's been spending most of his time is in schools. More than half the time, if you look at the whole year, 60% of the time, just a guess, in schools, teaching, other community projects. So it's a resource thing to me. We were doing what we were doing, so we're getting a police officer back, doesn't have to be involved in that. The school's getting that, so it's almost like an additional position.
And what?
That's my concern here is, we're not going out to hire another police officer, we have increased the force, but in a roundabout way, we kind of.
Well, what it's doing too is, for us, what we've seen is, especially in recent years, we see more of a need for a dedicated detective to deal with juvenile matters than we've had in the past. And a lot of that is related to the phones, to social media, to a lot of the cyberbullying and harassment. So Officer Feeney, in his capacity, did not do that. He was not a detective. He was not assigned those types of cases. So what we've done is, as some of our officers who had these positions for long periods of time have retired, we have tried to kind of reinvent the positions to make them a little more useful to what we're seeing in today's world. So the person,
Like
the individual.
part of the whole remanagement part we did at the beginning of this year too, to accommodate some of those roads and other.
Well, those were specific to the administrative functions that were piling up. That's why we created those positions. This is more specific to the juvenile needs that we have, are more related to, honestly, the detective bureau than some of the teaching that we're doing. The teaching is important, but if we had to pick which one's more important right now, I would tell you that some of these investigations and maybe educating some of the kids on some of the stuff that's going on social media and some poor decisions on a phone.
Education part, but if there's an issue, this resource officer would take reports, but he would not be doing whether it's technically regardless.
No, but he would take the initial report that, still the majority of the calls that we get down there don't require a detective, but the ones that do are labor intensive and usually require notifications to be made, multiple interviews, and, so really what this does, we free up our personnel to no longer have to do the teaching, to do the programs. Those programs are very, very labor intensive. Especially that,
Yes.
if we were to get the every 15 minutes program up and running again, which I believe we have a path to do, the funding became an issue because the grant we were using ran out, but we have another method, and the plan was to do that again this year.
Yeah, I guess that's my plan. It's resources being allocated to the schools that we have to do, but there's, the resources are right there now.
But what I'm saying is they're being pulled, what I'm saying is that the resources are being pulled in a lot more directions than they used to be. And the person we had filling that position in the past is not doing the same. The position that we are, that we've created is kind of, has different responsibilities and is more involved in investigations than the previous person was. I'm trying not to get into specifics because it's kind of the management of the department, but for the most part, we're allocating our resources differently, and we're seeing a need in other areas that we didn't see in the past.
Well, that's kind of what I was comparing to before. A lot of things are moved from next to line, because they have the patrol, different things, so.
Yes.
Yeah, the part I like about this is the increased capacity that you get back, right? You can talk to us more about maybe how that gets reallocated back into the book.
Right.
Councilman's point is what, taking these kinds of things where, I guess our concern will be the contract itself, right? What happens when the school board decides they don't want to fund this position? You know, we're gonna have crowds of people coming in here saying, gee, we pulled your officer out of the schools, and, I'd like that, I'd like some clarity around that. But the synergy between the police department and the schools, both in the programmatic part as well as your ability to respond more quickly, I think that's an extremely good thing to do.
So just to answer that too, the way that class 2, the 302s are in the state is, it's a year contract. So they would have to sign for a year. They can be reevaluated like any other class 2 on a yearly basis. I can tell you that the superintendent wants to go in this really wants to go in this direction and have even enhanced this.
Is it a multi-year commitment, or is it over a year?
The budget's year to year, so he couldn't commit to a multi-year commitment. But his intent is to not make this a 1-year commitment.
So, and to Bob's point, that is a lot of concern. All of a sudden, we can't get that type of police officer as we had to get full time, one police officer, goes through everything. And then we start looking at significant costs that weren't taken into account when we agreed to do this. So the contract, I think, should really be spelled out in a way that, it's an officer essentially being paid for by the schools, whatever the language is, to part of your department, so they can do all the reports and everything, and they have to have proper training.
Right. They would also be, retired officers, so it's not like it's someone that you're bringing in that has never done police work in the past. And also, just to be clear too, we're not really providing the service that we would be if we got this. It's not the same thing, because all we're doing now is teaching. And the programs we haven't run, the idea was to get them going again. And honestly, I'm not sure if we would be able to do it if we don't have some assistance.
Deputy Mayor?
Kind of has one of my questions about an annual contract. It's an annual contract that
Yes.
will need to be re-upped every year?
Yes.
But the contract with the BOE, does that have to be re-upped every year, or does that be an extended amount of time that says you're gonna guarantee that you're gonna pay for this position for X amount of years?
So I asked for a 5-year commitment.
Yeah.
But, and the superintendent only has so much he can do. He believes he will be able to make it happen for a long term. He wants it to be a long-term commitment, but he couldn't commit to that to me because of.
The consequences, Chief, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The consequences nevertheless are that when the funding runs out, it just goes away.
Well, or we'd have, yes.
It's better to be
Yes.
here, well, or we go out and hire somebody, now that's a problem, because that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
That's a big
I mean, we wouldn't be able to provide the same service, that's for sure. It's possible we could get to the level we're at now, but I couldn't even commit to that, because it would depend on, you know, the timing and everything else, so.
That's the point.
I understand what you're saying.
That's-
I understand what you're saying.
That's the commitment we need from the Board of Ed.
Right.
Roxbury tax dollars, municipal tax dollars, which are significantly less than those.
Right.
Sorry. You know, it's upsetting to have our children be put into a position because they decide not to pay.
I understand.
So, I'll say it.
Yeah.
I think I just heard the senator say that, why didn't the Board of Ed just hire this person, train themselves, and eliminate us from having to participate?
Well, they can't hire a police officer.
Right.
They're hiring security.
They can hire someone,
And I'm
train,
I personally would rather see her.
should hire them.
Well, it wouldn't be a class two. They could hire, you know, they could hire
It wouldn't be class two, it would be class three.
well,
Under
even the class threes.
Under the legislation that my father read, those retired officers were allowed to get trained, and then they're available to go to school and carry a firearm.
That's different.
They can carry them.
Not ours.
The class threes are also hired by the police departments. We have officers that
Both ways, yeah.
they're hired by but class twos and threes, anyone that's a sworn officer is hired by the police department. The class threes, the distinction is, the reason why, when I talked to the superintendent, I thought class two was the best way to go for the first one is, class twos have more flexibility. They can do the teaching, they can do the programs. A class three is supposed to be specific to security. That's the difference. The class two would be able to fill the role that we're currently filling and enhance it. Or class three, you would just be hiring another security guard that wears a uniform. And they have that down there with retired cops that aren't wearing uniforms, but they do have a security purpose.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
When Jim was in that position, was he a class two, class three, or
No, Depot. He was the director of security, which they now have someone that took that position, was a retired cop also.
He said he can't carry a firearm.
No, well, that's a school, that's up to the school, but they can.
So this person would be reporting.
Yes.
Not the director of security, the
Right.
person you're talking about.
It would be a police officer, not a security.
It would still be a director of security, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
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 they have a completely different function. Because they were, you know, at the beginning a little bit worried about what that meant for them, and nothing, they're unrelated. Yeah.
As far as the delegation of these is concerned, is my last question.
Yes.
This program right now at the high school reports its mission. Here. And there's not folks, schools that have the system.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, so the school would have to lay out some, we've talked about you know, blueprint for it, but not the fine details. I know what I want. They're gonna find out, we're gonna see exactly what duties they want, but I don't believe that would be something that would fall under me.
Chief, who makes the ultimate selection, who's on the selection committee? To get this position, who actually hires the position?
So I would be hiring them, but I would invite the superintendent to sit in on the interviews.
But the weight is on you to
Yes.
select the right person.
Yes.
One last question.
Yep.
So this position would sit at the high school, but would serve as call?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there a patrol car involved with this?
Yes. Yes. It would be a spare that we currently use for like an off-duty job. They would just take it to, you know, we provide it for the ride back and forth to the school for the day, but yes. They would want the presence of a marked car wherever it was.
Mayor, Jim, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make it clear, we talked about it a little bit with the annual contract and the costs. When the chief and I talked about this, I think we both were on the same page, and the goal is not to, as Jim has said, hire a full-time Roxbury police officer with all the legacy costs, the healthcare, the pension. This discussion that we had and what's being presented to the council isn't that. That discussion could happen someday. I'm not sure if my opinion would be the same as it is right now. I think this is more temporary. It could be a long-term commitment, but it's not a long-term commitment like the legacy costs are with employees that we're all familiar with, so if that does happen at some point, maybe that discussion is different, and that the cost associated with that, and what it potentially would cost the school district, would be significantly more if we would ever get to that point, so that was never the intent of this discussion, even though it could get to that point, that's not the goal of what we're talking about
So,
today.
we've seen it happen in the past, not just here, but everywhere, where come up with these plans, put in place, somebody backs out, funding source, now it's all others our kids. And it makes, to make them and or us look bad when we're actually trying to help them. So I think that contract needs to be done in a way that it's contingent upon, the only way you have that officer year to year is if they fund that position. It also has to be where we have to have some kind of agreement in place, and I haven't seen anything in the memo. You said you wanted a 5-year commitment, but they can only guarantee you the payments, so if you're gonna go out and hire somebody for 5 years, they only give you a year, that would be a problem.
Well, no, the individual would know it's a year-to-year contract, because any class 2 officer is a yearly appointment.
Okay.
So they would know, they wouldn't have any expectation it would be beyond a year.
Okay.
And even into that, because even the other part of that is, if the person didn't work out, you could keep the position and actually just hire someone else for it. So it doesn't have to be that person at all. They just are a year.
Is there any, besides the people now, is there any other additional costs, benefits or anything like that associated with this?
No benefits. It would just be the training, the ammunition for, qualifying for the. Right, but no, the equipment, training, and having the vehicle go back and forth to school, that would be our all-in.
So that you don't increase it?
No, but we generally have an extra vehicle, and it's not gonna be one of the shining stars of the fleet, but there's something that someone could drive from here to the school. Oh, well, when they get old, like everybody like us.
One final comment?
Yes, please.
Please. I'm really struggling with the inability to give us a 5-year commitment, frankly. They do it all the time with contracts, people working in school. So, my concern continues to be not so much the cost, is when it goes away, that the optics just look like we've abandoned the kids. I don't want to do that. Without a commitment from the school district, I don't know that I can make the same commitment on our own. So let's go back and see if there's some way that the school district can give us a firmer commitment to the funding.
Or have that be the committee, governing body, but then we're just taking that under, their person under our department, so we can function and interact with the police department. So I think there's a lot we need to see.
So I could go back and further discussion.
Well, we'd like to see the contract, what's being talked about, and how that contract's gonna be.
Right. We didn't come up with like a draft copy yet, just so you know, we hadn't gotten to that point. We were gonna see, number one, if we could fill it, and then we were gonna go from there. The idea was to, it was gonna obviously be up and running by the start of school this year, but we were hoping that sometime this fall, if everything fell into place, we could get someone there.
We just need to make sure it's palatable with all of this.
I understand, yeah. The idea here was to try to enhance what we're doing and have more interaction with schools. That I do think we need to be a little more involved in the school.
That's all our interest.
Yeah,
I agree.
mutual interest and one hand helps the other.
So we definitely really want to see a 5-year commitment on this.
At least some multitude of years.
Yeah, more than 1 year.
Well, we're not committed to an officer for a long time. Anyway, so.
Yeah.
We can certainly try to do it once, swear to. We might be able to do this, some sort of shared agreement, we'll talk to the school and to Tony about it, as we do with other positions, like the health
Great.
director or the construction division, we get
Well,
multi
to hear
years.
some of the concerns about, we mentioned them, those are all concerns, how the optics will be some point in time, if it goes well.
Understood.
I'm not suggesting that it would, just,
But we might not be able to control that side of the equation.
correct, that's
So-
but yet.
I understand. We'll be left holding the bag, it's our office.
I've been in that position.
Right, it's our officer, if someone's gonna say, that's why did you?
All days,
Right.
chiefs were submitting grants for new officer.
I got hired on one. 25 years ago.
Well, the cost program designed for the town to take over the payments.
Yeah.
Whether you were told that or not, I don't know.
Yeah, but the problem was they were submitting for the grants, and then when they got approved, you didn't hire them, the optics were terrible.
Right.
And they had full work.
Right.
So instead of just filling out the grants, you have to get permission to write the grant.
There was that future commitment. We'll get some more information for the council so we can get this in some semblance of order. I think we know what you're talking about, and we'll bring it back and bring back an agreement and see if the council is interested in moving forward. And we can certainly probably ask the superintendent to come if needed. I'm not sure if that's needed. I think it's more the specifics, but I'm sure he'd be willing to come and speak if we need him.
Well, he actually did say that, so. Real quick, if the council will allow me, could I just address one other school-related issue that has been clearly on the hot seat? Yes, okay. So, obviously, we announced recently, I got the superintendent about a month ago, and advised him that we were gonna decommission 4 of the crossing guard posts. So, I understand there was some discourse on that, and I understand being a parent and everything else, but I just wanted to at least express how we came to this and the process that we took to get there. So, number one, at least for the entirety of my career, I believe we've had the nine permanent crossing guard posts in town. They haven't changed, they haven't really been evaluated in my entire career to the best of my knowledge. The reason I believe that they haven't been evaluated is we never had an issue filling them. For many years, we had 9 full-time positions and we had a list of alternates. After COVID, a lot of the people who were doing it for a long period of time didn't come back. And for whatever reason, the position has been harder to recruit for and fill in the last handful of years. So what that means is, so this past year, we went into the year with 9 positions and 9 crossing guards. Unfortunately, a lot of them are older, they have some health issues, and they often are out for periods of time. So we went back and looked, and as a result of this past school year from September to June, our officers covered a minimum, and I say minimum, because these are the ones that were documented in the CAD data, and I'm sure there was a lot that weren't. We covered a minimum of 473 crossing guard posts this year. So that's a lot, and we're doing that. We're at times we're struggling with finding people to do that. Now, that being said, that's not why we made the decision. That just made a lot of the officers that were sitting there constantly aware of the posts, and obviously had a more of a first-hand relationship with them than we ever had in the past, because they were sitting there over and over again, a lot of times at the same places, and witnessing that many of the posts were rarely used. And the other part of it is that the ones, especially around the elementary schools, which the 4 that we're decommissioning are related to the elementary schools, Kennedy and Jefferson. In almost every case, there could be, I'm sure there could be an outlier here or there, but in almost every case, those children are being walked to school by a parent, usually to at least cross the street, in most cases to the front door. So, number one, the posts, some of the posts weren't being used at all by a crossing guard, and then the ones that were having some traffic, most of them, if not all, of the children were being walked by a parent. Obviously there was a little bit of a push to, can we reevaluate these and see what is necessary, because we still wouldn't have the proper amount going into this year. So this was a 3+ month study that our Traffic Safety Bureau did. We didn't just go and eliminate anything. We did our due diligence and we followed, I don't know when it's stated here, but it's the New Jersey Safe Zone Guidelines. It's written by the DOT and it spells out what needs to be done with crossing guard posts. Creating them, decommissioning them, there's guidelines in there. The main 3 criteria that you need to look at: sight distance, safe gaps in traffic, and speeds of the vehicles at each crossing. So that's the criteria that we used at each post, and not just the post that we decommissioned. We did this at every single post. And the 4 that we decided to decommission were the ones that were the safest in all of those categories. And generally, they were the ones that were near the elementary schools that were being, kids were being walked to school by their parents. That's where this decision came from. We've also created a new one. We moved one, and they had, the school had been asking for someone at the exit to Eisenhower by the lake there, which is heavily traveled in the afternoon by the Eisenhower kids. My kid was one of them last year. So there's a lot of kids that leave school there and they go out to the lake. And we couldn't staff the ones we had, so we clearly couldn't create a new one when this came up. This came up a couple years ago that they started pushing for one there. So what we did was we moved one of the ones on further up Heelan Avenue, I think it was at West Circuit, that there was literally one child that crossed there. We moved that one down there for the afternoon, and then all the rest were kept except the 4 by the elementary schools. But we did it, we used the criteria that was laid out. We did speed surveys, we did observation, and we documented everything. So that's where it came from. It wasn't just a decision that we came to lightly, and I understand that there's some discontent over it, but we're comfortable that we.
It goes back to the previous conversation,
Yeah.
the optics.
Yeah.
If I watched these, I think I know the one person who's walking by West Circuit, my daughter's little.
Right.
Crossing guard.
Yeah.
She does it in times when there's no crossing guard. She doesn't want to have school programs, she's walking all over. Also, Kennedy, for sure, I think we're up to 5th grade at one point, now it's down to 3rd grade.
4th, I think 4th. I think, yeah.
All the elementaries.
I think it's 4th, K through 4. I think.
Who wasn't some of the older ones that were promised?
Yeah. But I just wanted to kind of get that out there.
Councilman Vaughn?
Want to thank also I see all the time on Eisenhower, which complex that has to be addressed. So addressing that flip side, speaking for somebody all the area that's very much to see all the time. Outside
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Now to number 9, introduction of proposed ordinances, 19-24, capital ordinance of the Township of Roxbury in the County of Morris, New Jersey, authorizing the exterior restoration and rehabilitation of the Lafayette School in, by, and for the township, appropriating therefore the sum of $302,010 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund and the Township of Roxbury Open Space Trust Fund.
Make the motion.
Thank you, thank you. Roll call. Any comments?
This is one where we're giving a grant for 241, the 61 we would pay for.
Open space.
Motion, roll call.
Councilman Carey,
Yes.
Councilman Crowley,
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo,
Yes.
Councilman Hall,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Patillo,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Mayor Albrecht.
Very humbly, yes. And that brings us to 2024 capital ordinance to appropriate the sum of $320,50 for the sidewalk and bicycle facility Main Street final engineering design phase for the Township of Roxbury in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, providing that such sums so appropriated be raised from a state grant.
Make the motion.
Thank- Thank you. Any comments?
Just for clarity, because it's not like this report is 100%.
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Carey,
Yes.
Councilman Crowley,
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo,
Yes.
Councilman Hall,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Patillo,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Mayor Albrecht.
Yes. Number 10, hearing and adoption of ordinances on second reading. There is none. Oh, you have to tell us when we're going to do the second reading. Sorry, second reading, August, no.
The second reading for both ordinances is August 27th.
Thank you. Okay, so now hearing adoption of First, second, there are none. Number 11, introduction and adoption of resolutions.
Mayor, if I may
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Any comments? Councilman Riley?
Number 219 is a grant for a police department from Walmart. Just thank you to Walmart for putting their offices up.
Yes.
The second one, 224, the snow plow. Yeah, we bought a new truck, but we need an additional plow. Can we use the plow with the old truck, or why is that? Why would they be discussing when we're buying a new truck if we needed a new plow?
Steve, can you comment on that? Sure. Steve, if you would just, so we can just hear you out from the court, thank you.
No problem. So typically, when we replace the trucks, the plow is kept for a cycle, 2 cycles before the plow is replaced in addition to the vehicle. So this is that second cycle. So the truck was replaced. There is no spare plow. That plow was in parts. So this is obviously just put the plow back on the truck that already existed. Correct.
I guess it won't fit in real cute. Why wasn't it?
Say that one more
It
time.
wasn't in the budget for this year.
So it was
They found funding for it, but it wasn't in.
correct.
It wasn't a budget item that we discussed.
I think the thought process was there. Unfortunately, due to the increases of the vehicles, obviously Rick had budgeted this vehicle. His intention was to buy the plow. Through that funding that was allocated, it wasn't enough. Ultimately, that's what it came down to. The prices are still going up, and obviously steel is pretty expensive.
Anything else?
One last item, TCF Water Services, that's the same company.
Same thing, yeah, it's the
Same
same,
price.
I think everything's the same, just it is consolidated, purchase, bought out.
It read like it was the same, they were honoring the contract, but to the contract, so we will mention the price.
Right, everything's the same. It may change in the future, but it's the same for now.
That's it? Okay. Roll call?
Councilman Carey,
Yes.
Councilman Crowley,
Yes.
Councilman DeFilippo,
Yes.
Councilman Hall,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Patillo,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Mayor Albrecht.
Yes. Thank you. That brings us to personnel changes. There are none. Communications, August 2nd. No comments? That brings us to our second public portion. If you wish to get up and speak, please do so. Please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Kluska, please. You know the drill.
Robert Cluster, Emmons Road. This morning while I was on the internet, I came across a thing where they were suggesting we put our memories on the cloud, whatever that is. And it brought to mind an issue facing the council about 10 or more years ago. I think Mr. Hall and Mr. Riley were the only councilmen at the time, possibly Mr. DeFilippo, maybe even Mr. Bucco. Anyhow, the issue was to photocopy all of the old records and possibly store them in some line somewhere. And this went on for months and quite a few months as I recall. Although I don't recall that the issue was ever resolved. So are we still sitting on a ton of old records? And if we are, what are we doing with the current records? Are we putting them on the internet somehow, or are we just adding to the ton?
I think the program, you may look at correct.
Can you use the mic, please?
I think it was called Alarm or something to that effect.
I can answer. I don't know which record you're discussing, but we did, a while back, hire a company who came in and scanned all our minute books back to 1946, middle of 1946. So in the next budget process, maybe we'll go back further than that. The books are very, they're very old, and they have to go page by page, so they can't just take them out of the binder.
That's what the issue was, yeah.
Right, so that's how far we went back, but as we can, sometimes we do scan certain pages, but there's some very old books. And now we have everything on hard copy for minutes and things like that. We do scan everything, and there's a program out there that we can get certified to do everything and go and get a scanning. That's my goal, is to get okay through the state to be able to be certified to just have everything scanned and not have paper. So that'll be.
Do we have microfilms in some lines somewhere like we were discussing, or?
They have to certify our system, which would be a cloud, and it's not microfilm, but we have a backup on our, everything that we scan is backed up. Everything that comes through my office is scanned and it's backed up, and I've had to retrieve stuff from a long time ago, and it's always available, but we also report things, still hard copy.
So
Do
we never officially went to microfilm.
No, because no. Mm-mm.
It's not state of the art anymore.
I know, it changes.
I used to love those machines though.
Oh,
I actually,
Right.
we did have a grant that you might be talking about, or a port that we did some microfilm, and they actually did a lot of the plans in the planning department and construction, and some things didn't work out exactly right, and then the money wasn't there anymore with the grant ran out, so we still have the hard copies for a lot of things, but we have great printer for the big maps and things, and they're
Right, we're
scanned.
gonna keep both the hard copy and the microfilm.
Well, we go through DARM and we get permission when we can get rid of things, and we do have to get permission to get rid of both the scanned version and the hard copy version, and we try to keep up with that, whatever the state tells us that we can dispose of after a certain number of years. That's what we do.
And then we put them in camera garage.
And they get recycled.
Was I right, Mr. Filippo, you were
He doesn't know it.
part of that bunch?
Because he looks away in the back, on Gold Line.
I just thought it was an interesting discussion. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Klesko. Would anybody else like to get up and say anything today? Right, no, I will close this portion of the public. Do we have an executive session?
And it's gonna be 2 hours. So it's gonna be on the dialysis center, under land sale / attorney collection.
A resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury, the County of Morris, New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Council with the public excluded, whereas it is deemed appropriate, the Township Council discusses matters herein as mentioned without the presence of the public in accordance with the provisions